Welcome to Deep Dive Film School. I'm Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Paltry.
And if you like what you see/hear, please like and subscribe. You can find us in all the spaces and places that people what?
Find good media. That's right. Our most popular platforms are YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. You can also follow me, Adam Paltry, at Letterboxd. I'm very active on there. Okay, let's get into that one scene from 1985 film Legend. Forgot this was directed by the great Ridley Scott.
The great Ridley Scott.
The world builder.
Well, this is early in that world building of his. It was something I was really thinking about rewatching this scene. This is the real reveal of Tim Curry as Darkness. We've seen him in shadow, like in silhouette before.
Heard his voice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's some voiceover and there's like his eyes or whatever. But, in thinking about the early work of Ridley Scott, he, back in the 70s and into the 80s, so much of his world building stuff was around scope and scale. I'd say the same way that somebody like Denis Villeneuve is now.
Sure.
And then that he kind of I don't know, not that he got away from it, but he became more of a director, a little more standard kind of. Yeah, or
I would say, but I mean, this is the guy who made Alien and who made Blade Runner.
Yeah,
obviously huge world building entities and IPs that we have that still to this day that we're seeing.
And that scope and scale of it, right? I'm thinking of the alien ship in Alien was unlike anything we'd ever seen before.
Was this before or after Blade Runner?
This would be before, I'm pretty sure. I want to say right. Blade Runner is
This is 85.
I think Blade Runner is 84 or 3.
Okay, so after then.
So yeah, and I think, it's interesting because this movie didn't do that great. It didn't do great at the box office.
It wasn't anything I remember growing up watching either.
See, I did.
So for some reason, this one skipped past us. You got Tom Cruise in one of his very, very early roles.
Totally.
And then this magical world that he built. It's a very simple. It is a kids movie, really.
Well, it's a kids movie, except that it's scary and it's violent and it's, and so I think it's funny because it's I was looking at some reviews for it and people are like, oh, it's like any other sword and,
not for the 80s
kind of, sword and sorcery style movie, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, but it's never been taken this seriously. What do you compare this to? Beastmaster? It's not
it's true.
There's a lot of movies that look this good. Yeah. That are in that fantasy realm from the 80s, right?
Yeah, it's almost made for adults, but it is a PG movie that kids could enjoy.
Right.
Maybe that's a better way to describe it.
Sure, but it's it's pretty gnarly.
It's dark. Again, his world building is fucking crazy here. The production quality is always top notch. The art direction, the music, the costumes, and of course Rob Bottin.
Yes, Mr. Bottin
doing the epic makeup and some of this on Tim Curry himself. Yep. And other weird statues and hallways and all the things.
One of the interesting things I didn't know, and while I was doing some research for this scene, is that there's kind of two main really great Bottin characters here, and one of them obviously is Darkness.
Yep.
And then the other one is, I think her name is Maggie. She's the swamp thing. She's this green monstrous thing that Tom Cruise has to contend with on their way to the castle. And originally Ridley Scott wanted Richard O'Brien, Riff Raff from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, to play that character. And he was watching Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I know someone else in Rocky Horror.
And that's when he was like, oh my God, Frankenfurter, Tim Curry, should play Darkness. And I'm like, why didn't you get Richard O'Brien to be the other character then? It would have been a great tie-in, but it was somebody else. But gotcha. I love that idea of oh yeah, this sultry, sensual transvestite crossdresser from this horror movie, musical is going to be my devil. And then just again, you talk about scope and scale. The model of this character is insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously some of that has to do with camera work and stuff like that, but he does look gigantic next to Mia Sara of Ferris Bueller fame.
Sloane. Every boy's crush.
Oh yeah.
From Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
Who is now? I don't know if you know
now
this.
She's hurting unicorns. They're stealing unicorns.
Well, and now she's married to Jim Henson's son, Brian Henson.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You mean in real life?
Yeah, not in
the
a
actual legend.
No, sorry, in my fanfic.
Oh yeah.
I should have mentioned that in the fan fiction novel I'm making about her.
And the Muppets.
Yes.
But, speaking of legends, Tim Curry is one. And you think of the big roles that he's taken on over the years. The first Pennywise.
Yeah.
This one is obviously a big one. Home Alone 2, another huge one.
I think that with the exception of, I know he's the concierge, but I don't have a lot of other memories about that movie. But I would say one of the things about Tim Curry that has always stood the test of time is it's rare to find another actor who delights and relishes in being the evil one. He's so good at that, right? When he says...
It's that smile.
Yeah, when he says, I can feel the festering wound of evil germinating inside of you. You're like, that's turning him on to say that right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. We're all animals, lady.
It's so fucking good. Yeah, that smile... shows through all of that makeup.
It's wild.
Now, before we get to his big reveal here, I think everything is so interesting where this scene starts because it's really her.
Let's give a little context to his reveal.
Yeah, so Mia Sarah's character, she has frightened unicorns. She had sort of like broken this law of the fairy world to touch one of them, and that's what's caused evil to now like both kidnap her as well as
Jack.
kidnap one of the unicorns. Jack is trying to save her with the help of the
Gump.
Gump and they're all these weird like sprites and
But she's essentially a princess.
right? Yeah. And this sequence of her running through this darkened castle.
Captivating.
A castle that's so big that you never see the walls of it. It's it just moves into blackness beyond these huge like columns that almost look like Edward Gorey urns.
Sure.
They're like these big weird
I honestly wrote that down of something I learned from the scene was the spatial awareness here is insane. Like it's this place that it just makes it even more haunting, right?
Yeah.
But it's this underground layer that he has, which seems endless. And
Yeah.
it could be. Who
knows? He is darkness. I mean, he's essentially the devil.
Yeah.
And then there's just that hearth, this massive fireplace hearth, kind of in the middle of all of it.
Yep.
That also makes no sense. And then I love it's so spooky the way that then there's this little girl's mirror with all of her jewelry and trinkets and little things around it, right? Also sitting there and you're like, that's bait. Right? Like that's not that was made just for you to go up and be get seduced by.
First thing I thought, I was like, oh yeah, that's baiting her with gold or whatever. Shiny things like a crow. There is a lot of Beauty and the Beast vibes here for sure.
Very much so. A more realistic Beauty and the Beast, I would say, right? Like if you're
Satan rather than an actual beast.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying if Belle as Beauty didn't end up with Stockholm syndrome and falling in love with the Beast, maybe this is more accurate of what it would actually be like.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
As a terrifying experience.
They have this great shot at the beginning before she starts running where she hears him.
Yeah.
And her hair is kind of like covering her face a little bit with her bangs. And you just get this close up of her eyes, seeing her like slowly realize where he is.
Yep. She does such good work here.
Amazing.
Like she's like, again, to what you were saying earlier about like a fantasy movie, something that could be for kids, but is treated really seriously. Like Mia Sarah's performance here, the shuddering, the sweating, just the overarching fear in her face. You're like, that's not something that would show up in a lot of these sort of like sword and sorcery style movies where it's like, oh, this is actually the way a person would feel if they've been captured by this monster.
There's this whole dancing scene where this like faceless demon is dancing.
Yeah, this weird proxy thing that's in the outfit that she ends up becoming.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, it scared me so bad that it doesn't have a face. That it's just it almost looks like this mannequin. And the music is so great. And just that there's that weird little guy, the weird little statue of like almost looks like a Buddha that starts to move and is watching them dance. And like that's kind of your real cue of like, oh, this is all a trap for her. And it's so seductive and terrifying.
Yeah,
like it's so
puts
well
her
done.
under the spell, and she just transforms into that demon, basically.
Yeah. And when she stops and she looks in the mirror, and it breaks her heart that she is that. And then, and I don't know what came first. I don't know if it's this or Prince of Darkness.
Yes.
But that hand coming through is so badass.
I couldn't not think of that.
Okay, you can't not. It's just that giant. Yeah, this would be if the rest of it came through in Prince of Darkness, right? That hoof that comes out, and the sound
and it's out of
effect.
a mirror, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sound effect it makes when it just like crunches down on all that gravel, that hoof.
He's like almost like stretching.
Oh my God. It's just, it's absolutely incredible.
An amazing reveal. And again, this is before Hellboy.
Yeah, it's before any of that.
Like,
yeah.
Stuff like, so, and then you get these low angled shots that make him seem huge. You do get some like Lord of the Rings pull away, like, oh, she's
forced perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was in the makeup chair 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
Every time, I believe. Is that what you have?
I didn't see how much, but he would sit in a salt bath every night for an hour just to get the adhesive off. And apparently he got pretty claustrophobic and multiple times, understandably, doing something that long.
No, I can't even imagine. Seeing that's why he was so prepped. There's that great photo of him under the umbrella smoking a cigarette while he's Pennywise. I don't know if you've seen that. It's like
this is fucking easy.
Yeah, he's like, this is nothing. You guys have no idea.
Have you seen Legend?
Through. Yeah, this is nothing. Yeah, I don't have I think it was something like they had some huge. So the horns were 3 feet.
Yes, and they were full, and they were kept, like, he hurt his back or something because he kept falling over. And he has these huge horns. He's ripped.
Yeah,
all of this stuff, just frightening as hell. But they ended up hollowing out the horns so it was more doable and everything. But yeah, I mean, he looks so fucking epic here.
It's just absolutely incredible.
I can't think of many other demons that look as epic of this in movies. Like, a lot of times they like to hide the demons, or it's some goofy version of Satan that doesn't really seem.
Yeah, it's like it's just a guy's painted up and has on like rubber horns, right?
Yeah,
and you just think, and again, they did hide him for so much of the movie until he appears here. And it's like the payoff. And again, it's one of those things where you're like, well, if you've gotten Botine, right? Which again, for those of you who don't know, is the guy
John
who did
Carpenter's
it's
best
the
friend.
thing, right? Yeah, it's like, I mean, the guy is like just incredible.
For special effects and makeup, especially back in this time with the 80s,
85.
where everything was done by hand. We did not have CGI or computers to change what we're doing. And just probably the most famous makeup artist ever, I would say.
I would say. And just, one of them, definitely like him, Rick Baker. There's like a handful of guys. But yeah, I mean,
he's one of them.
He's definitely one of them. And I think that, again, like that's the part of it that I'm like, I wish that this movie had maybe done better at the box office or something like that, because I think that it's not given its credit.
I agree.
When it comes to, if you just see one of those images, and again, to be able to say 85.
I didn't.
Like, it's crazy.
But you say that about Blade Runner too. You're like, when was this made?
Completely.
So, I mean, it's Ridley Scott who's doing a lot of this that's making it believable, making it memorable. I agree. I'm surprised. I was only 6 years old when this came out, so I don't think it was in the rotation. Even if I did see it at some point, back in those days, it was like, you got 4 channels.
Well, that's just it. This is, and you and I talk about this a lot as being kids who grew up in the 80s, that there were some videotapes that just were in the rotation.
Sure.
And so, because you only had a handful of channels, and if you weren't a household that had cable like mine, then that was the tape. And so I've seen this movie so many times that I still remember like the Tangerine Dream theme song earlier in the movie.
It made me want. I haven't watched it since we probably reviewed it a long time ago. But I wanted to keep watching when I was going over the scene. I like to skip about 10 minutes ahead just to get some context of the scene. But I was like, damn, I kind of want to just keep watching.
Well, and like, obviously Curry's so good. The guy who's like the little goblin that's sort of his henchman. Again,
Blix?
I think that's right. That incredible makeup there too.
I could be wrong on.
Everybody, I mean, that's just it. Like, I think it is a solid movie, even if you're like, yeah, good will triumph over evil. It's a fucking fantasy movie. Like, what do you think's going to happen?
Of course,
but like, but it's so solid in terms of the vision for it.
Time.
Yeah, you're not going to be like, oh, there were twists I didn't see coming. It's a movie with unicorns.
The last unicorn dies tonight.
Yes.
So good. Sunshine is my destroyer. Man, so
we are all animals.
Yeah,
that's just so good. Yeah,
amazing. Underrated movie, like you said, and a fun scene to revisit. And it is a pretty epic reveal. And we haven't done a ton of reveals like that. You know,
or a ton of like fantasy stuff.
Sure,
either,
yeah, you got to get into the fantasy stuff to kind of get the whole buildup of everything. But awesome movie, Ridley Scott. Please go check it out if you haven't. 1985. All right, next week we are going to do a bonus episode to our Movies About Movies Festival with Living in Oblivion.
1995?
1995, that is correct, sir. So please join us there. You can join us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube?
Yes, YouTube.
I'm kidding. And you can also follow me on Letterboxd, Adam Pulcher. You can follow me there. All right, please join us, and we will see you next week.
Bye, you guys.
Thanks, everyone.